This is No Money, Mo Money, and after putting an end to a 1,000-year war, he thought to take a little break. But old threats create new problems, and now his path leads to war, through a storm of blood. We have finished all of our Realm Reborn crafting quests, which means this week is time to move on to Heavensward and Stormblood. The Heavensward quests still do require you to get your own resources, so this week started off with, once again, a bunch of gathering and a bunch of crafting. So let's go ahead and hop straight in with where, as a carpenter, where we help this down on his luck moron learn how to actually communicate with his son, get revenge on the dragon that killed his father many years ago, and return the dignity to his family name that they had lost. As a blacksmith, help this tiny little wannabe knight girl who's trying to save her family name, reforge her family's reliquary sword, and fix up her damaged armor. Also, she can compete in a grand tourney and make a name for herself, so that she can be elevated to a Temple Knight Squire. It's not everything she wanted, but it's a start. Find our armorers still bickering over who understands what the customer needs better. So I just end up handling all of the armor making needs for this group of adventurers we're supporting myself. But thanks to Blancyr crafting up the gear for the healer and tank, they did not meet their needs and couldn't beat their enemy. So technically I just sort of finished off the tank's armor, but altogether we armorers assembled an entire set for their whole party. New hat for the healer, new armor for the monk and the gladiator, and a new helm for the lancer. So now they're all set up to go take down their nemesis monster. As leatherworkers, we help this upstart merchant of Ishgard who's decided to make high quality goods that she's willing to sell to commoners, and even managed to create a suit of armor so beautiful and so powerful and so durable that we convinced the Temple Knights, who are looking to create a smaller, more agile unit, to use leather rather than the traditional plate and chainmail and stuff like that they're so obsessed with. Dude. As a weaver, we help this young noblewoman whose widowed mother is desperately looking for a teacher to teach her daughter how to weave. She's focused on learning more about conjury and spending time with her first crush and all this nonsense. And since her boyfriend's too stupid to be a conjurer and has to become a soldier, she wants to rush off to war to become his pocket healer. But this means crafting her things like this hat that are fit for combat but fashionable enough that her mother might actually believe it's just for dressing up as a fancy girl. But mother has already spotted us! So she decides to have me craft her one last piece of armor and then just leave home without even telling her mother she's going. Who, of course, saw right through that. Finally, you're willing to just stand up for yourself and say what you want to her, rather than being a baby about it and running around behind her back. All she wanted was you to have the courage to admit to what you wanted to her clearly, rather than just being a brat. Plus, they're exactly the same. Literally, her mother ran off to war to protect her father, too. All her mother really wants is, don't leave without saying goodbye to me, because you can die at any time, girl. At least say goodbye to me before you leave. Good luck keeping your idiot boyfriend from getting himself killed. As an alchemist, I help these investigators look into a string of disappearances and help them use alchemical parchments and inks and the like to draw forgeries of maps in order to lead the thieves right to our doorstep. Unfortunately, the person we caught is not actually the thief, but someone who's been driven into a stupor by alchemy in order to commit the crimes without realizing what they're doing, only to stumble upon something much deeper and darker where an alchemist is trying to create life, and so he's killing a bunch of kidnapped people in the process of cloning them. The problem is none of them seem to have any spirit in them. So he's able to replicate the bodies, but the soul remains lost. So we capture the guy, except of course for the problem that the dude's being completely silent. And oh look, this other guy who doesn't look like he's the guy is suddenly running away. So his experiments succeeded and he managed to transfer himself into a clone. But you're not going anywhere, dude. Like, I'm not just an alchemist. For the purposes of the story, they'll only make me an alchemist, but, like, I'm the warrior of light. I could class change in a second and take this dude down myself. I suppose this dude's big old butt will make sure that he's not going anywhere. As a culinarian, I have this tiny little maid ask me to take part in a cooking competition, all just to try and beat this cocky cat boy, who she's really just secretly in love with. Perfect 10, which means I utterly destroyed the cat boy in the cooking contest. It's like some straight up food porn from like the Food Wars anime stuff. This is great. And now that she went and destroyed his dream of being a culinarian, she's like, wait, no, wait. I'm actually deeply in love with you. I just couldn't tell him. Oh boy. I didn't actually want you to stop being a culinarian. I just wanted the old mossy bee. She even has a freaking pet name for him. If my Melly Belly insists, I suppose there's nothing for it but to keep doing what I do. But oh my god, their pet names are terrible. But anyway, he's off to become a greater culinarian by seeing the realm and eating its foods. And helping the goldsmiths help this big fancy lady who wants us to craft a beautiful golden music box that plays songs from their youth as a gift for her husband, only to have her husband come along and request basically the exact same music box as a gift for his wife. So we go find the original composer who made the song they both want us to put in the music box, as well as a master in the crafting of musical instruments, which allows us to put together two beautiful music boxes that only seem to be playing a portion of the song that they both love from their youth, because the whole point is they're supposed to become two hearts joined as one to play the song together. And that finishes up all of the Heavensward crafting quests. But who cares? I want manipulation. And that means let's hop straight into the Stormblood quests and get those done this week too. Where as a carpenter, we help this brand new recruit try to supposedly pull our guild out of a rut and increase our sales by finding out what the people around town actually want in the way of furniture, which, given that this is Stormblood, no surprise, turns out to be Far Eastern style furniture. You want to do it? Go to Kugane and figure out how to do it. The benefit of these Stormblood quests is that the materials you need are provided for you. You have to go out and gather anything. The quest literally just hands you the base material and then tells you to craft the final item. Yeah, she keeps like rushing off ahead of herself, not really realizing what people need before just going off and starting to craft something. And so she keeps ending up trying to give them something they don't actually want. And it's kind of getting her very down that she keeps failing. So she's off to Yansha next. She keeps getting caught up in like demonstrating her talent, that she's not taking the time out to really talk to the people around town and figure out what they actually want. Back to Gridania we go. Yay, Zemi's finally remembering why she became a carpenter to begin with, to make furniture for her very, very overworked mother in their very poor family. Like, she's finally starting to see her way back to her roots rather than all this nonsense about, like, incredibly intricate craftsmanship. So Gerhard here has been having trouble integrating his Gridanian and Alamegan soldiers together, and with Semi deciding to stop just trying to prove herself and actually listen to the needs of the clients, she and I both came up with the exact same idea. So each of these benches is one of our crafts, so that they can have a nice little tea party of Far Eastern style, so that the two sides can kind of discuss, what are these weird intricate patterns? Ooh, this tea, I've never had it before, and stuff like that. And somehow just having fancy benches and exotic teas is making them, like, open their minds to all the wonderful cultures out there. Yeah, it's solving all their problems. I also love that it turns out Semi was completely wrong about the guild being in debt the entire time. He wasn't working himself to the bone because he needed to pay off a debt. He was working himself to the bone because he had a sudden bout of inspiration. Of course, these quests also give us access to things like manipulation, which I get at level 65 of each of them. And it's regen. Every single time you take a step in crafting for the next 8 steps after using this ability, you regain 5 points of durability. So while you're losing durability during the crafting, you're also regenning it. As a leather worker, we help this crazy stuck-up lady try and taxidermy animals so she can preserve records of them if they go extinct. We're gonna work with this tiny little kid who's another assistant of hers who specializes in taxidermy, and we're gonna help him, like, mount the creatures. Even though she's crazy, at least this lady has some respect for the creatures. She's not having us go hunt down endangered species and murder them in order to stuff and mount them for preservation, but she's at least having us try and find ones that are already dead. So together we mount these hides in such a way as to create these displays. But of course, some people are being all angry about it. Like this jerk here who's using his position as a hero to make bold and lying claims about how the elementals are furious with us just because he finds it distasteful. Although I do like that she just calls him out. It's like, we talked to the hearers and the conjurers and the pajal, and none of them knew anything about elementals claiming this was horrible. This is not some disgusting mockery of life. This is literally us showing off creatures that are endangered so people can learn about how this is how museums work, dude. We're showing this off to help teach people important things. Oh good, he's finally remembering he's a hearer. And he's not such a self-important piece of crap. He's supposed to be honoring the voices that he's been blessed to hear, not using their authority to throw around his own weight and his own ideals. Oh, she's actually giving us proper credit. What? I thought we were just going to be honored in your book as etc. Okay, whatever. As a blacksmith, we meet up with this lady visiting our guild from the Far East, who's an aspiring swordsmith from Kugane. Yeah, it's like, you can't waltz in here. She's not looking to sign on with the guild, just learn our trade. And it's like, you can't just waltz in here, take all our secrets, and waltz back out. So just share your smithing secrets with us, too. I'm satisfied with your performance, so I'm so happy about that person who's almost certainly Sekka's father or something. Here to take you, here to drag her butt home. You will never be good enough to be my apprentice. Don't you dare use one of my smiths to put your daughter down. How dare you walk in here and disrespect everything about our guild to that degree. Okay, cool. Let's make her the best she can ever be and prove herself to her father and blah, blah, yada, yada, cliche, cliche. Yes, I know. We made her some brand new tools that are much sleeker so she could use them to work the metal, and now she's already crafting pretty good katanas. She was able to focus better on this sword than she ever has before. First, prove your worth. Compete against me. Oh, looks like we're going to Kugane for the competition. Oh god, now this girl is dealing with a crush on the freaking forge master of our guild, who's a drunken layabout? Really? Ugh, whatever. Here's my fancy finished blade. Hers is a much sleeker design. I actually like her design better. Heavier blades will cut better, but they'd be useless for retainers. Like, not everyone we're supposed to be supplying this time around is gonna be a freaking samurai. So she took the client's needs into consideration, but she came to the wrong conclusion. So now he'll finally take her on as his apprentice, because she's no longer trying to impress him. Really, girl? You have a crush on that? Hearted? And right in front of her father, too. He just stares at him. It's like, what? It's like, Hold a tick. Rathile seriously didn't have any idea she was falling in love with him. It wasn't his intention. Something rather pressing just came up, requires my immediate attention. See you back at the guild. Bye-bye. As an armorer, we catch up with Blandstier, planning to take a trip to the Far East to study with people who make weird helmets and armor pieces he's never seen before. All because he wants to instill his creations with, like, his own genuine sense of character and personality. Armorer dude really just sort of took him right under his wing. He's like, oh, you're looking to develop your own style and sensibility. Oh, that can be difficult. I'll take you under my wing. Refreshing challenge to instruct the two of you together. I guess he thought he was here for the same reason as me. Well, you can't pass up this chance. We can learn the secrets of Far Eastern armorsmith side by side. Yeah, I just sort of bumbled my way into becoming an apprentice armorsmith in Kugane. Alright, time for us to meet with an actual client. New headgear for the Gozen GI tournament of sorts, where samurai display their prowess with a blade before members of the nobility. Say we have a contest. Both go at making a piece for our client here and see whose work he likes best. One of the guys back at the guild is already telling me, you don't really know anything about the Gozen GI though, do you? Maybe you should talk to some people who've participated before? Blandstier, I'm guessing, rushed in, blundered in, like, give me what I need to craft my stuff right now, and didn't let Unryu get a word in edgewise, so he's probably gonna craft some garbage that no one really wants. Meanwhile, I'll actually listen to Unryu's advice, and thus actually talk to some people with experience in the competition. See, and thus craft something that the samurai will actually want. Tactless to draw attention with aught besides one's skill with the blade. Finally took himself down a peg once again, like we have to with every series of armor quests, to remind him, stop getting too much in your own head and your own pride and start worrying about what your clients need. Samurai man is back. Pledges katana to a lord. Is to leave Kugane this very day. His new lord's domain is already being plagued by bandits and thieves, so he has to go, like, straight off to battle. So Blandstier wants to forge a whole set of armor for this guy as, like, a test of his newly formed resolve since failing the last commission. There you go. It's a little crazy. Interesting, but a little crazy looking. Even expend the effort to learn my family's crest. His family crest is a rabbit? The design is hinged. The metal itself has been forged with limits and techniques. A very modern confluence. Alright, he's already got to head out on his boat. See you later, buddy. Okay, he's gonna stay behind and teach him some limits and techniques while I head off. As a culinarian, which is by far the one that benefits the most from not having to gather my own materials, thank God, we meet up with this adventurer turned culinarian who apparently was inspired by me to do so. Help him add a few new domain recipes to the menu over at Revenant's Toll, and meet up with this odd girl, who's apparently Rolf's fiance, who's basically taken on the task of cooking Far Eastern cuisine to try and impress his father-in-law, because he has no interest in letting his daughter marry this dude. This is literally just, you're not Doman, blood of Yansha, a proud light and pure. So he's literally just a bigoted racist. He's really going in on like the purity of Far Eastern cuisine now. I see Rolf is already like, something seems wrong about his claims about the purity of Far Eastern cuisine. Apparently the very first dish that his fiance ever made for him was called sukiyaki. Yeah, right. So the Alamigo had a dish that tasted almost exactly like that. So we learn about buckler stew, a traditional Alamigan dish. It was introduced from Alamigo to Rodzit Han, and then from there to Doma. Doma merchant journeyed to Rodzit Han to buy spices and chanced to sample the stew. Love at first taste. Appears not to be Far Eastern. What is this? Traditional Alamigan stew. They also taste alike. Yes, they do. The ingredients are very different, but they're very similar. Alamigan dish buckler stew found its way to the Far East. Yeah, even your cuisine is not pure. That is a lie. Sit down and join us before the food gets cold. Okie doke. So he's having him joined for sukiyaki, which means I guess he's now his son. What about me? Am I a dear friend? I guess I'm a dear friend. As a weaver, I get to meet with these kimono merchants from Kugane. We are honored to welcome you in Kugane. Oh, am I going to go visit Kugane now? Help them introduce some truly unique and exotic fashions to Kugane. From Ishgardian dresses to light spring gowns. Of course, we get stuck dealing with traditionalists who keep insisting she's nothing more than a curiosity. Of course, she also seems to be kind of a petulant kid. Like, this lady may be kind of a traditionalist and a bit stuffy, but our little rising star is also kind of a petulant little brat. If she fails, she goes back down to being a fresh apprentice, rather than all established as she is now. And once she gets a little too much into the competition, she goes for the full-on seductive dancer outfit. And I'm sure of it. Just the anticipation no more. Slip and find the girl. Yeah, didn't go as well as she thought it would. So surprisingly enough, it wasn't just that their sensibilities couldn't take my sexy outfit that I crafted for her. It's that when all of those eyes were on her, her brain just shut down rather than performing. So now she has to start all over as an entertainer. Look at that. One quest later, she's already finished her second apprenticeship to become a professional entertainer again. But her idol is unfortunately about to leave to get married. So we convince her to have one last, like, contest with the girl on stage so she can have a chance to actually dance on stage with her idol. So I put together two beautiful dresses that match each other's so that they can perform a very traditional Doman dance, as they call it, but that ain't a dance. Either that or my monk is a really good dancer. As a goldsmith, I get to hang out with Nanamo in her weird little, like, highborn lady disguise that she likes to sneak around the city in. She wants us to build a school for artisans, huh? Wait, you want me to be the teacher there? Now that Alamigo's free, a bunch of the refugees are going to want to return home, but they have almost nothing to return home to. So she wants to create a school to sort of train up some artisans and craftsmen to put in place the beginnings of a foundation of, like, trade between the two nations. And Nanamo is straight up gifting the frickin' royal crown to help fund the opening of the school. That's crazy. So we've got a cat girl jewelry seller who nagged the artisans till they taught her a thing or two. A smith for the resistance who fixed weapons and things. And a miner. I've got a miner, a smith, and a jewelry seller. And this lady Emeloth over here, who's actually a goldsmith, who's gonna serve as my deputy at the school. So kind of like my vice principal, I guess. And a snake lady, which makes sense because the snake ladies are really good smiths and crafters, especially for jewelry and the like. So what we've got here is a cat that's got a great eye for aesthetics, one brother who was a smith and knows metal but not gemstones, and one who was a miner and knows gems but not metal. So to start with, we're gonna try and have them like work to their strengths rather than their weaknesses. So the three of them as a group will try and put something together. So the two brothers are performing pretty much how we want. The cat girl is a klutz. So as it turns out, she furrows her eyebrows and sort of growls just a moment before she screws something up every single time. So I wonder what her glasses prescription is like and if we should look at that. What the... Wow. Her prescription is terrible. What world have you been living in? How have you not already strolled off a cliff? There you go. Here's some new glasses. Anyway, that's their new sample. They have to try and make some glasses like the ones I made for her next. I like that someone finally realized that. Thanks, Kanchana. Occurs to me that the spectacles are to serve as reference, but you cannot need to remove them. How would she carry out the work in that case? Didn't think of that. Shall we say this is part of the challenge? 3 professionals standing around here and no one thought to ask the question, how's she gonna work on the spectacles if she has to take them off to look at them for reference? So they're trying to come up with a way to thank the Sultana for giving them not only a school, a path forward, but also the crown freaking jewels. Here you go, Nanamo. Perfect gift for the tiny potato Sultana. And yes, those are in fact jewels from your mother's crown. Yay! Goofy potato celebrations. Wait, aren't you supposed to be a queen? Yes, of course. Some beautiful music for her. Yep, they made all the stuff. I put it all together and encrusted it with jewels. Of course you had faith in me. I do literally every job in the game. Almost. Well, all the ones I can do. Of course, the alchemists have something gruesome yet again, where I'm examining corpses to find out if it's even dead or not. A former guildmaster, Mumuepo, came to be in possession of an enchanted item called Heartstrike, a blade fabled to house the power to bring the dead back to life. Around the same time he was said to obtain the blade, he purchased for himself interment and funeral rites at Eralig's burial chamber. Okay, so the guildmaster spoke to Mumuepo, but couldn't get any information out of him. He's already in prison, so if he ends up confessing to any new crimes, they'll just add on to his sentence, so it's not surprising he refused to say anything. So the only surviving relative of the person in the coffin on record is Flamen, my dearest Neil. Okay, so it's her lover. Said it was as if time itself stopped. Oh, as if natural laws were suspended just for him. His body does not deteriorate. Even now he appears the day he died. Bronze Bull. Hey, Bronze Bull. Another corpse that doesn't rot. It can't be. Heartstrike lost its power. It's useless. Has been ever since I stole it from Lord Lorito for some 5 years past. Meant to take to the Syndicate a proposal of early and open war with the Empire. They orchestrated a riot in the city center. This is the one where they released a Gubu into the streets of Ul'dah and it got out of control, right? The monster couldn't be brought to heel. Ran rampant and killed Minfilia's dad. Garlean spy loyal to the Alamegan resistance, Warburton learned of a threat to Ul'dah far more menacing than the Empire. Looking back, we can only assume it was Dalamud and what it contained. So Neil conspired with Mumuepo to make use of Heartstrike. He's meant to revive Warburton and hear from him what he knew. And so the Syndicate had Neil killed. And so, yeah, Mumuepo used the blade on him instead to try and bring him back. Looks like we're still being watched and followed. I can assure you that never in the past was Heartstrike the prize of a thief. Unbeknownst to him or her, the blade they made off with was a fake commission from a talented adventurer. Oh boy. True Heartstrike had since lost whatever magical powers it may have had. Once word of that spread, its price on the market plummeted to little more than the counterfeit itself. They sold it to a merchant called Ansabert. Uh-oh, something's happening to Grenfar. Time for me to go. Grenfar was attacked and stabbed. Another young lady who began work as his attendant around the same time as myself, one day with not a word of any sort. She simply up and vanished. It's her, it's the girl, the rest of the coffin is the same as the one who worked beside. Yeah, His accusations of her thievery of her lies, he did this to her. Some dealings with a new client have taken him to Revenant's Toll. Okay then. Merchants such as myself has means of dealing with such harassment. Your money is worth nothing to me. What means are those? Grandfather. Still alive, baby, and having none of your nonsense. He will beat you up barehanded and bare-chested if he has to. It's the Bronze Bull. He's a legend of the Colosseum. You're not paying enough for them to fight the Bronze Bull. Heartstrike is not and never was a blade with the glorious power to turn death to life. It is and ever was a blade with the hellish power to turn death to undeath. On the other side is no such jewel embedded here. Hazard it was dislodged at some point in all the exchanging of hands and violent stabbing. Had the stones remained, they would have risen as monsters, not as they were known in life, and not truly living. Yeah, one bottle of very, very potent alchemical acid to try and destroy this stupid blade once and for all, with the magic contained in it as well, which should cause the bodies to finally be released to the ethereal sea. All 8 crafter classes through both Heavensward and Stormblood. Manipulation on all 8 crafter classes. We are finally done. And that means we are ready to jump into the post-Stormblood stuff. We will be hopping into a bit of side content from post-Stormblood for the next few weeks, and then we will be getting back to the main story. See you guys finally done